Before ever leaving the ground, each pilot must make an important decision, whether to fly or not, commonly referred to as the go, no-go decision. And even though you're a student pilot, the operative word is pilot. And you, along with your instructor, should make this decision each lesson based on several factors. Among these factors is weather. And with that in mind, let's talk about when you should fly.
Any time of the year can be a great time to fly, and each of the 4 seasons has its own advantages and disadvantages for you as a pilot. Summer's warm weather is great and typically offers many flyable days, but summer storms are not to be trifled with and are always a reason to delay a lesson if they are near. Visibility is a factor you need to consider in making your go, no-go decision. Since you will be training under visual flight rules, abbreviated VFR, 3 miles is considered the lowest practical visibility. However, your training should be conducted in conditions better than that. Winter offers the clearest air of the 4 seasons, and since cold air is more dense than warm air, aircraft performance is at its peak. Wind conditions are something else that will affect your training. In the early stages of your flight training, brisk winds may be a good reason for postponing a lesson. You'll learn very little if all you're doing is battling the wind. Winds not aligned with the only available runway can also present a real challenge to new students. Ideally, you always want to take off and land into the wind, but this isn't always possible, and you'll learn to negotiate crosswinds with ease later in your training. Cloud cover is also a consideration. Again, visual flight rules specify a minimum ceiling height of 1,000 feet above the ground, but that's a minimum, and you definitely want it to be higher than that. A ceiling is the lowest cloud layer that covers most of the sky. If it's solid, it's called overcast. A broken ceiling is simply an overcast with a few holes in it. For now, you'll be working with your flight instructor to examine the weather conditions and determine if a flight lesson is appropriate or not. We'll cover weather and the many sources of obtaining weather information in much more depth in later volumes. Flight training is a year-round process, which is good, because after you get your certificate, you'll be flying year-round, so there are advantages to training in each of the different seasons.
Whether to fly at night or day, on the other hand, is as clear as, well, night and day.
As you begin your training, you'll want to fly only during the day. The horizon and other outside references you'll need must be clearly visible as you learn the fundamentals of aircraft control. Later on, you'll take night training if you're progressing toward your private pilot's certificate. You'll find that everything you learned under the sun applies to how you fly at night.
But no matter when you fly, the fundamentals of flight are the same. This volume concerns itself with introducing you to the aircraft, its systems and controls, basic aerodynamics, pre-flight, engine start, taxi, and basic communications. We'll also explain the 4 basic maneuvers upon which the rest of your flight training will be built: climbs, descents, straight and level, and turns.